Hey guys, Daniel here. This is another video, and my next guests, two amazing creators that need no introduction. It's the legendary Ethan Sachs and Paolo Villanelli. If you watch my channel, you know I've mentioned before that Star Wars Bounty Hunters is one of my favorite current comic book series of all time. So I tracked down two of the creators, got a ton of blackmail on them, and forced them both to come onto the channel to talk about Star Wars Bounty Hunters. I believe it's been going on for a while. Issue 16 is already on. I've been ordering each issue. I have a big stack of comics here, which I'm so excited to get into. But thank you, gents, both so much for coming on. How are you doing today? How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Very happy to hear.
For Paolo to go first, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
You know, like I said before we were talking, you know, Paolo, big diva. We had to send out the M&Ms, but you know, it's all in. You know, like I said, I had to sign a contract to get this interview off the ground. But I'm so happy to have you gents both here. Yeah. So before we get into it, let's just discuss the new issue. Issue 16, I believe, came out. Ethan, what can you tell us about this issue?
Well, we've been building up during the War of the Bounty Hunters big events. What's been going on in our series in Bounty Hunters has been sort of leading up to this moment in 16, where both Dengar and Valance have been after Boba Fett, and this is sort of what happens when they finally meet him. And without going into spoilers, we also see they sort of had this nice little bromance going, friendship, partnership sort of going, and we sort of see that it's very hard to have friends in this business.
Yeah, but and of course,
Bounty Hunter business, not comic book making.
Oh yeah, of course. You and Paolo, enemies. You and Paolo, just enemies, pure. Yeah. We're lucky we did this away because, like I said, like Ethan was messaging me and Paolo. Obviously, they both just have a hatred for each other, but I assume that's all comic books is. It's just two creators hating and working with each other at all, and then that's how we get brilliant art.
I have to say, like in all seriousness, it has been a gift to work with that man. I'm glad he can't hear this part of the interview, that it's muted, but no, seriously, it's been a complete and utter joy every issue to work with him. It's pretty amazing. Absolutely,
you're the dream team, the dynamic duo, of course.
Yeah, we've been having lots of fun. That's for sure. I mean, it's issue 16. We've been doing this for 16 issues. So right now it's all about Paolo, let's do this, and I'm like, yeah, why not? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put more blood and more action. You know what? And he's okay, it's fine, and that's it. It's so super fun.
You're just slowly seeing what you can get away with, just kind of pushing it that way.
I'm like pulling Mark Panicha's leg and trying. Can I do like a little bit more blood here? And he's like, oh, come on. If Ethan's fine with that, and Ethan's fine. So. Seriously, it's been great. I mean, Ethan has been building up these amazing characters that add so few time on screen or few chances to shine in the Star Wars universe. It's been building up their relationships and their story, and he's done a great job. I'm so involved in the story. I'm like, okay, what happens next? I'm so curious. I want to know more. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but the next issues are going to be even better and then better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ethan, let me take you back a little bit. Let's talk just about the origins of this series. So like, it's a little bit over a year old, maybe even more than that now, actually. So, you know, how did this even come about? Like, I know you touched on this in our interview from a while ago. Did Star Wars approach you, or did you go to Star Wars and pitch it to them, or?
So Mark and Tom, the two editors of Star Wars at the time, I don't know where it originated on the Marvel and Lucasfilm side, but by the time it got to me, there was, you know, an idea that they wanted to do a Bounty Hunters comic, and then they wanted to do it where Valance was the main character, but there was a presence from all those classic bounty hunters that were on the bridge of the Star Destroyer and Empire Strikes Back. So that's sort of where it started from there. And I remember the day I met Paolo was actually at New York Comic Con, I want to say about 2 years ago. And that's where I got this piece of artwork that I have behind me, which is an original page from a Mace Windu story that we had worked on together. But, you know, because he's in Italy and I'm in New York, we had never met before in person up until that New York Comic Con. So it was pretty exciting at that time to get to work with him again on a much larger project, and then B, just to play with these characters, because you could kind of break some of them. You know, like if we were dealing with Luke Skywalker and Leia and everybody, like you can't damage them too much because they have to sort of fit into what's going to happen in Return of the Jedi and beyond. But if Dengar were to meet an untimely death, would anyone know? Would there be any? Who knows? So I kind of feel
Don't
like
talk about Dengar like that. He's going to stay in this series forever. There's no way you're getting rid of him.
Or Valance,
Or
like
Valance. Yeah.
Valance. We can literally break him apart, not just figuratively, but literally break him.
And then put them back together again, just roll it out.
Either way, we're not. Or leave him.
Absolutely. I'm sure that'd be very fun for Paulo to draw, though, like just the dissection of Valance, I'm sure. Is he robot everywhere under that clothes? I mean, I guess we'll just
he's mostly at this stage.
Yeah, some things are best left up to the imagination, of course. But yeah, so Paulo, how did this come about? Because did this come about at New York Comic Con? I imagine Ethan approached you, had a gun under his jacket and said, "Work on this series, no one gets hurt." Was that basically how it started?
Yeah, we had a very informal meeting with Ethan and Tom, the editor back in the day, one of the editors. And we talked about the project, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Because as Ethan said, there is that scene on the Star Destroyer's bridge in Empire Strikes Back, and it actually opens up the Star Wars universe to this idea of the bounty hunters.
Yeah.
But that part of this incredible world is just left there for us to imagine, and it is a great chance. Not just in terms of story developing characters, but even in terms of character design. That has always been a great part of the series. I had a chance to work and create so many new characters, alien creatures and stuff and planets, and everything is new and fun. And nobody can actually say, you did that wrong because it's different somewhere else in the universe. And I'm like, no, it's all new. The only people who can actually tell me that I cannot do something is Lucasfilm. And they're like, you know what? We've never really seen that, so you're okay. And as Ethan was saying, it was we had that really fun story with Mace Windu, and even that one had that feeling of exploring things and characters that have never really been explored before. So it was actually a nice tease for me, because even for that short story, I had to design environments and new characters, and it was fun. So I actually say, you know what? I mean, with all the dire consequences for all these characters, sorry about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine how this goes. But yeah, so you just brought up a really interesting point there about freedom, because I mean, everyone knows when it comes to canon, Star Wars has a very set canon. We know the rules. We know all these different type of aliens. So Ethan, was it fun for you to kind of come up with new concepts? Or was it important to you to also pay homage to like the old canon? Because, you can't just say this whole time Boba Fett's been an alien or a clone. Just no one knew because he's wearing a mask the whole time. He's been Greedo under disguise, probably canon. But so was it important for you to also come up with new concepts, but while paying respect to some of the older ideas?
Definitely. Because the canon does matter even in this corner of the Star Wars universe, because Boba Fett is actually going to be in his own series now, and a lot of that backstory is probably going to be examined there. So like we're pretty lucky that we have experts sort of helping us where we need to be helped. But yeah, there are, we've got to create some new characters, like Tonga and who's sort of running now this bounty hunters team, and Nakano Lash, even though she did not survive past issue 5. So these are things that, we're sort of adding little pieces to the giant puzzle. And that's kind of fun, but also, I think it's fun to mine a little bit of the classic tropes of Star Wars. Like, for example, a few issues ago, we really wanted to have a scene where Valance flew an X-Wing, because when are you going to get the chance to do that? And I wanted to have all these, like this cool action set piece, because I knew Paulo would have yes, there you go. He would have a great time drawing a space battle like that with the X-Wing, classic X-Wing. So that's, it's probably exactly like that. I mean, I get goosebumps looking at those pages. Like, so the X-Wing is so recognizable. I mean, he has his own ship or had his own ship, I guess. So a lot of that stuff, it's sort of half and half, like half new concepts and half kind of tipping our cap to the classic stuff.
Yeah, and so Paulo, what was it like getting to draw? What's your favorite thing you've gotten to draw so far? Because I mean, you've done spaceship fights, you've done just about everything in the Star Wars universe. So what's your favorite thing you've gotten to work on, or just draw so far?
I think which issue is out now? 16?
Yeah.
Yes. So I think it's something that is actually happening in the next issues.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because that's the problem with Ethan. I mean, every time I have something better to draw in the next issue, and I'm like, you know what? The next one is even better. So, but in terms of issue 16, it was actually like really, really fun to me because I had the chance to, draw this frozen planet,
Yeah.
and it was a great chance for me to go back and explore a very old comic book. I don't know how many people remember, which is Winter War by Chuck Dixon and Zaffino. It's if you don't know it, you have to go and find it because it's like a masterpiece, and it's always been a great inspiration for me. And I've always been like, I would like to do something like that, draw something in that kind of environment. So with issue 16, I was like, yes, gonna have a lot of snow and battles and dead people in the snow, and also Boba Fett. So
Boba Fett, exactly. Perfect. Boba Fett should just be in every issue. That should just be mandatory for no reason. He's just there.
And Greedo.
Yeah, Greedo as well. Just two of them. They're both together in every issue. Just for we never have to explain it.
I think Greedo has to be a mysterious character, so you can't overuse it. You run the risk. That's why there's no Greedo trilogy, because it's it takes away a little bit of the mystery.
Yeah, because you just look into his eyes and his kind eyes, and you don't know. Yeah. You just can't get a grip on him as a character. So I think that's honestly why we do it. Too much. If you saw what Greedo was truly like your Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, your eyes would just melt, your face would just melt, like everything would just turn to dust. But yeah, absolutely, Paulo. And I know you also touched on in our interview before that some of the characters in Star Wars, they were definitely just made to be looked at, because Bosk, he's like, what, 3 fingers? How is he supposed to hold a gun and actually fire? So is it tough for you to kind of look at these characters closely and actually try and, make them doing some specific actions which made you wouldn't work so well?
It's a bloody nightmare. Because, Bosk and Zuckuss and Forlom, and before Mandalorian, even IG-88, I always wondered how would something like that even move. It was just like, watching, a part of your furniture with a blaster, roped to it. And I'm like, it's never going to work. Then we had the Mandalorian. And so IG-88 became like something, that could actually work. But the other characters like Zuckuss, Forlom, Bosk, they have always been like a pain to draw, but also fun, because since they didn't have like that much time on screen, and they were actually very vague in terms of anatomy and what they looked like. For Bosk, it was a little bit different because we had the cartoons, the Clone Wars and Rebel Saga, where we actually see him move around. And so that was a big inspiration for me. But these characters are like a bit of a pain, and you have to, when you draw them, you actually have to make a little bit of let's change them just a little bit. So, so every time they're moving around, they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing because it would be impossible for them. But since they are these very niche characters, it's actually possible. So I'm happy, and I'm actually they have grown on me. I'm having fun drawing them, especially Zuckuss.
Yeah, it's definitely. Fun. I mean, I don't look at Zuckuss and think, man, that'd be so much fun to draw. But the fact that you find a way is amazing. But yeah, Ethan, same question for you in regards to, it's difficult for Paulo to draw these characters, but it's difficult for you to get into like the heads of these characters and actually write them in their voice, because like, Valance, you can probably have a bit of freedom with, because there's not a big army of Valance stands on Twitter saying, nah, Valance would never say that. But when it comes to a character like Boba Fett, he's not going to be delivering these big, long, rich monologues. So is it tough for you to kind of get into the heads of these characters a little bit?
Boba Fett, I never had to worry about that because I think he works best as a very enigmatic character. So you don't want to get in his head. I think it's almost like a Mike Myers or I like him best as this very mysterious, scary character. And, consistently he's the one guy who, he can beat just about anybody, including Valance in the early part of our Bounty Hunters run. What I did like some of the other characters. I liked Zuckuss and 4LOM being I kind of saw them as like a Bert and Ernie. Very weird friendship, but kind of, one might get a little bit annoyed at the other, but there's this weird kind of friendship that works. So I like that, discovering that about them. And Bosk has been fun. That issue where he had that solo issue, I just wanted to make him, he got him all handy.
I was like, I'm waiting for someone to bring up Bosk just so I can flash this on screen. Come on.
I love that issue a lot. I loved what Paolo did with it. I loved it also because I feel like he often, not just in our comic, but often in Clone Wars, he gets outsmarted and beaten fairly frequently. He is a very formidable foe. So sometimes you just want to show why they're so feared and why they got as far as they did. And so that issue was like a tribute to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to get into this issue here. For those who don't know, issue 11 of Star Wars Bounty Hunters, which was like just a single issue about Bosk, one of my favorites out of the many like brilliant issues. But yeah, issue 11, this was like a Bosk solo issue. So Paulo, how fun was it to get to draw Bosk in all his glory and all his lovely scales?
Bosk is just so good, and as Ethan said, he's part of a race of creatures that are actually supposed to hunt Ewoks Wookiees for fun, and so he's supposed to be like the big deal. Yes, exactly. So as I wanted to pay tribute as well, showing around what he can actually do, because in the Star Wars universe, he was actually just a guy in a suit, in a rubber suit, and then it was he started to get some some movement with the Clone Wars Rebels. So I had a chance to show people how dangerous is that guy, with just his bare hands, with knives and guns, and or a stone, when he actually fights the other bounty hunter in that issue. It was really, really fun. And then it looks like a bit of a dinosaur, so I just love dinos. It's perfect.
Yeah, definitely there. And so I think you can definitely see that in the art. This whole issue is just fantastic, just one big thrill ride. But so Ethan, it's kind of like this kind of like Rambo Predator feel, where obviously for like in this issue there's a hunting club and they're trying to hunt people in the forest. Bosk is one of the people they unfortunately tried to hunt, and I'm sure you can imagine how some of that goes. This is a really amazing issue. Make sure to go pick that up. But yeah, so Ethan, I know you touched on in our last issue that Bosk is a really fun character to write for, mainly just because of all his S's. And you kind of refer to him like, if there was a band, Bosk would be the drummer. So not really the main one, but he's still there, and we all kind of appreciate the fact that he's there. And yes, what's it like getting to work on Bosk? Is he one of your favorites so far?
You asking me or Paulo?
Ethan.
He is definitely one of my favorites. And I kind of, without spoiling too much going forward, like we're now getting to work with multiple bounty hunters at the same time. Before they were sort of these musicians that were having their solos, and now there's like a band, and there's they're playing some more complex tunes. So he's definitely one of them. I kind of feel people think of him as a loner, but he has in Clone Wars, and he has worked well with others. So I kind of like seeing how he plays with others. Sometimes it feels like he's playing with his food, but at other times you feel like you can count on him in that, as long as the money keeps coming in, like you can count on him as a teammate. So I kind of like the interaction he has with some other bounty hunters. And one that's been fun to write that we just started is Tasso Beach. And Tasso Beach, for those of you who don't know, was a character with who was older by the time Force Awakens happens. But he's in it. He's one of the the fighters that's in basically menacing Han Solo and Chewbacca with the Raftars. So we're seeing his past a little bit, and eventually he's going to evolve into the person that you see in The Force Awakens. But it's been a lot of fun to sort of be able to set some of his backstory and things like that, because he's kind of a fun character to write.
Absolutely. And I think we all need a Bosk in our life, even though he may end up trying to eat us, I mean, we just keep him around. He's kind, I guess, when you really think, if you pay him enough, he'll be kind. But yeah, absolutely. So some other bounty hunters you got to work on. One in particular who I've been loving the dynamic with so far is Dengar. And so, like, we kind of see this, like I said, like you put it perfectly before, bromance, where Dengar and Valance, they don't necessarily like each other, but they more put up with each other. And they're kind of friends in the sense that they could stab each other any moment, but that's what good friends do. But yes, we also like getting to write that dynamic between Dengar and Valance, Ethan.
Do you want to start this one, Paolo? Or do you want me to?
What was it like drawing the dynamic?
I think that was one of the best part to read, even in the script, because I was like, oh my god, these two guys are like made for each other. I might have so much fun just reading what's happening here. And so actually Dengar, when I started drawing the series, he appeared first in issue, I can't remember which one, but it was like, yeah, we got another bounty hunter, that's okay. Then I start reading the scripts and seeing what happens. Then I was like, oh my god, this character can be actually great. They are like, I don't know, Tango and Cash. They are like this perfect, this couple of guys that are terrible and they are messy and they are just, it's so fun. There's that scene where Valance is fighting Chewbacca, and in the background, Dengar is just going for a beer because, yeah, whatever, I need a drink. It was like one of the best part, and I think Dengar has lots of potential, and Ethan has done a great job in developing the characters, in that character, and after that you're gonna see more of him, definitely.
I have to confess something. Dengar was not my first choice for that arc. There was another character I won't say who, and we could not use that character. So Dengar was
wonder.
And I was not excited at first about Dengar. I kind of feel like Dengar, might be the least, or at the time I thought might be the least competent of all the bounty hunters. It's kind of, he has a bad history with Valance.
There's him getting the beer, like you were saying earlier, Apollo.
Yeah.
Well, Valance is literally about to get his head ripped off, but Ethan, you were saying?
No, I was going to say, and he really grew on me as we were writing this arc. He definitely grew on me. I kind of feel like there was potential that was certainly not in the movie, where that costume probably cost, $10.05, for Empire Strikes Back. But he definitely has been growing on me. And I think one of the things that makes him interesting to me is I underestimated him. I think everyone underestimates him because he just, he doesn't look as intimidating as a Boba Fett or a Bosk. So I kind of feel like he can fly under the radar. So we wanted to kind of show that he has to be at least a little competent to have lived as long as he has, especially messing up or causing so many people to be angry at him. So
definitely. And the world is a better place for having Dengar and Valance in it. It's the dynamic duo. Like, he's the Alfred to his Batman. They would complement each other in a weird way. Yeah, absolutely. So, like, coming off that, like, there's been so many different characters, and of course, you got to include other characters like Han Solo and Chewbacca. So it's also kind of fun for you to also work on some more other, like, characters who you like I said, I know you touched on it very growing up. You're a huge Star Wars fan, so it's kind of like, is it a bit different writing for like Han Solo and Princess Leia and a few other characters I know you worked on, as opposed to kind of like someone like Valance, or is it all like kind of surreal to you?
I never had any trouble writing. I've written Han Solo and I've written Leia. I've not written Luke. Yeah. And it has not been hard. Chewbacca's a little hard because try writing those dialogue balloons. I bought all these old Star Wars comics to see how they handle Chewbacca's dialogue. And it's a lot of, how many R's and how many W's do I use here? So like that one's a little harder, especially because a lot of his are done by, you know, how loud he, also like what Paolo does with the Han Solo. I find very easy to write because I've seen the movie so many times. He has that sort of that bluster, and he always gets himself into various situations and things like that. So I never had any trouble writing him. Valance is tricky. Valance, when we first started, like the marching orders were that Valance was going to be kind of like the Punisher of the Star Wars universe. But I didn't really like that as much. I kind of liked him better as a very flawed character who, he was repaired physically, but he's still like he still needs to repair himself mentally and emotionally. Like he's still a work in progress and finding his way. And I like that about him, that he was vulnerable in that way. But he also doesn't speak a lot. Like if, he's not a character, we don't have internal narration. We don't, he doesn't volunteer his emotions really well. So you really need other characters to fill in those gaps. So like when he was flying around with Cordelia, you could have the dialogue, when he was working with Tonga, and now with Dengar, because otherwise he's just going to be like walking through moping if he's by himself, or killing people, like the pirate stuff. So it does help. And that's why we had the droid in the first few issues, and then unfortunately we killed him, or destroyed the droid. But
like we said at the very start, people are going to die. It's just kind of destined. And so Paulo has, of course, been kind of the co-murderer and all this. He's drawing it. So, I mean, if the police ask, it's all Ethan. But Paulo's kind of co-doing it as well.
It's all Paulo. Like, I don't even put any violence in the scripts. It's all like, and then it comes back. I'm like, whoa, where did this fight sequence come from?
It's 24 pages of like Dengar and Valance just sitting down having lunch. It's like, why the hell is Chewbacca choking Valance? Since when did what? And Paulo's like, let it happen. Let it happen. Just...
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, but Astui, so Paulo, bringing up the script, and I know that in some issues you touch on in your past interviews that you like got to do space fight, and so in that space fight, I believe it was issue 9, which I have right here. Was there a bit of freedom there when it came to the space fight? Did Ethan just say do whatever you want, or how did that work?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't remember that exact issue script, but I think it was on the line of these things are gonna happen. But do whatever you like to make sure we get there. Was it something like that, Ethan?
Yeah. I try at every issue to have at least one action scene where it's like basically, Paolo, here are 4 pages. Just if you can hit these like 2 or 3 beats within there, just so that by the end of those 4 or 5 pages, then, because I'm then writing like page 6 that is assuming that those beats happened, you know what I mean? So as long as he hits those beats within all the swath of destruction that he's drawing, then the rest of the script sort of fits. But I want to give him, because he's so good, especially like his action scenes are so kinetic that, like, when I first started writing comic book scripts, I tried to choreograph everything because I thought that was easier for the artist. But then I realized the artists are so much better visually than the writers that, like, why would I box somebody in who's like a genius with stuff, So more and more I try to leave space for Paulo to jam,
I'm very grateful about that, by the way. It's really, really it's hard because choreographing things and making sure you get to draw what you like without going too much off script and off character is really hard. And talking with many colleagues, some of them really love that, but they are so scared of doing it. And when they get these kind of scripts where they get the freedom to do whatever you like in the battle, they go, oh my God, what I'm gonna do now? But I find it's hard because I have to work a lot on those pages, but it's so fun. I can get inspiration from literally whatever I find, movies, cartoons, comic books, mangas. So fun.
Yeah, brilliant, definitely. And Paulo, your art has just been fantastic on this whole book. But yeah, so like, do you ever just kind of take a minute and just like let us say that you're actually drawing these Star Wars characters? Do you ever have to pinch yourself, or?
No, I just hate everything I do the moment I finish it. Whenever the issue is done, I'm not looking back because I hate all of it.
Brilliant. Well, I think I
But
can safely tell you we all love your work anyway. So
Thank you.
I have to say, when you see the next issue, I wish we could give you a sneak peek, but like the end of the next issue is, I think, the best thing done, and the visuals of this climactic thing that happens in there is just so stunning.
just
It's-
everyone
yeah.
dead, everything
I-
finished, just a big bang, big some explosion. You can just get out early. That's it. I assume that's how the next issue goes. It's gonna be something crazy like
There
that.
are
but yeah.
explosions, so that's a bit
Yeah,
of a
very
spoiler.
explosion, but you're not gonna be that lucky.
Oh,
not
you never know.
just that.
We don't, unfortunately, Valence, it seems, we don't know what's happened to that character. But yeah, so issue 17 comes out next month as of time of recording, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the end of the War of the Bounty Hunters tie-in, and the story goes on from there. But yeah,
Yeah, so people should go get issue 17 from the local comic book store. By the time this video is out, it may be up or maybe out in a couple of weeks or days. But yeah, so, and you just brought up there, the War of the Bounty Hunters. This was a really huge event, which is currently going on all in Star Wars. It's so hard to keep track, I'm doing so much chores, my pocket money, I'm putting out too much for you guys. I have better things to be spending on, but now I'm keeping up like, all right, who's it? Greg Pak has a new book out. All right, Ethan has one. I
feel like at this point we should be getting you PDFs or something. Marvel should be getting you PDFs.
Yeah.
I think they kind of blocked me because I send them so much emails about my Greedo 800-page script that they must not be getting it. So either their emails busted or they have me. I mean, it must be the emails busted because it's a gold mine. It's Greedo 800 pages of him just doing stuff. Like, he doesn't speak, because like I said, I think Greedo's kind of a metaphor for human greed when you really think about him as a character. So yeah.
We're all a bit funky.
Yeah, exactly. In a way like that. But of course, War of the Bounty Hunters, this was such a huge event. So how did this even come about, Ethan? Did you know from the very start that you were soon going to end up working on War of the Bounty Hunters?
Well, so this is Charles Soule's big idea. And we've been working on this as the Star Wars writers for like closing in on 2 years. Like it was a long time in development. And one thing that's really interesting to me is because like in comics, you have a lot of these like big events and tie-ins and stuff like this, but this is the first time, certainly for Marvel, that there is a Star Wars crossover at this scale, like every book. And part of the reason is like now all the books are set at the same time after Empire, before Return of the Jedi. So we have weekly Zoom meetings with the Star Wars writers and the Star Wars editors. And so a lot of this, the cool thing about this was everything was planned together. Yeah. So it all fits in. They're all like puzzle pieces that really snap closely together, but the individual stories can work on their own, but it's a really special. And the fact that we got to use, I don't know if it's a spoiler at this point because the issue has been out for a long time, but the fact that Charles got to use Kira,
yes,
I mean, that is amazing. So I'm assuming at this point it's not a spoiler because it's been like,
yeah, definitely. I assume all you writers or artists have some blackmail at Star Wars, and that's how you're allowed to use all these characters, especially you, Paulo, because if anyone here has blackmail, I assume it's you, because you just have that mystique,
Well, it's funny because the very first meeting, like the summit meeting that we had as Star Wars team about this thing, Charles explained the basic story, and it was essentially that someone steals the carbonite from Boba Fett, and that just unleashes this whole series of events. And it's a hooded figure, but we don't know who the hooded figure is. He hopes it's Kira, but there's no way Lucasfilm would say yes. And so we were talking about various plan Bs, but there was nothing that was as emotionally powerful as it being Kira, Yeah. And that was just like, to me, that was genius. And the fact that they said yes is just amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's such a brilliant reveal. I've really been loving this so far. But Paul, of course, like we said, we've also been introducing new characters to the universe. So I assume you've gotten to design every character that has been created for the series?
Yeah, mostly. But we had a chance to use another great character that just really appeared just in the video game. That's Deathstick. And she's the assassin. And I was so happy to use her because her design was done by Brian Matthias. That's one of the Lucasfilm design artists for the Mandalorian show, lots of stuff. And that design was so amazing. I had it saved in my folder of references for ages. And so when I read the script and it got Deathstick, and I was like, yes, I can't believe it's true. But besides that, I think speaking of familiar places, we had a chance to work more on places that had been familiar to the Star Wars universe, but not that we didn't see very much. Even Corellia,
Yeah.
we had quite few scenes in Corellia so far, and it was cool to draw places and things and stuff that was actually very different from what we saw in the Solo and from the movie. Even for the Smuggler's Moon and so on. And also I think it was issue 50 where we introduced the old lady, Dengar's friend. That was so fun to draw because she's actually loosely based on this old lady that runs the cafe next to my studio. So I was like, okay, I want something like that. I want something like that. This small old lady, and she's got to be very mean with lots of guys looking dangerous. And that was really fun to draw. And I was like, yeah, Lucasfilm is gonna tell me change everything. This is not working. But they were good, so.
And did you say to that cafe owner, sorry, can you just hold this pistol for a minute just for reference? Can you hold this blast or this lightsaber?
Very loosely based on her.
Very loose, incredibly loosely, yeah. And yes, of course. And Paulo, what's it like getting to draw spaceships? Is that fun for you? Because of course, from the technical aspect, it does look like a lot of work. Was that fun for you, or when you get a spaceship in the script, are you like, let's silhouette it? Let's just silhouette it.
It's fun, but I wish this was like a movie and I have to like move around like a 3D model all the time. Whatever, it's done. I'm just gonna move a camera. So easy. No, I have to draw all the time. But I love that part of the Star Wars franchise, drawing those battles. And the first time I played the Star Wars Battlefront, where you're actually driving an X-Wing or a TIE fighter, I was like blown away. That was so fun. So drawing these scenes, these battles with these spaceships, is so nice. I like that very much. I think it's one of the parts of the Star Wars franchise that people don't realize how important it is. It's not Star Wars is not just a Jedi fighting Sith. It's also bounty hunters and this Western scenario where these guys, dangerous guys, shoot each other, but also there's the part with space battles, and it's so amazing. As I said, I wish I had more time to draw even better these spaceship because they are paying to draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you can just, I assume, like the amount of detail that goes into your work is amazing. If I was ever an artist, I think I'd just silhouette all of it and just say, no, shadow. It's shadow. It's an artistic choice. Okay, Lucasfilm, just send him a strongly worded email, absolutely. But yeah, Ethan, so another character I want to bring up that you actually recently brought back was Tasu Leech. And you just touched on him there, like people who may not be familiar. Character, he appeared like in a few seconds in Force Awakens. You can see Han Solo, he's approached by two gangs. Big surprise, he probably owes both of them and they both want him dead. I know that's incredibly out of character for Han to do something like that. Of course, what was the decision to bring him back? Because that was really interesting to me. Why did you bring back a character like Tasu? Did you come up with that? Or were you approached by Lucasfilm with it, or?
No, I pitched it and they said yes, which was amazing to me. But to be honest, I don't think that they had plans at that time for him. So I think, his journey was in Force Awakens and that's it. But I felt like time-wise, he would be around a teenager or so at this, and he would already be a good fighter because his backstory is like he was sort of raised in the fighting pits. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to talk. I'm big on Easter eggs. I love those sorts of things as a fan and as a writer to just, even if it's not a major part of a story, to just have it in.
Showing some pages I like with all these different characters, just so I can convince everyone to buy this, so this series never ends, it goes on forever. Please buy this. So what type of Easter eggs did you put in?
Well, I don't want to say too many of them because I think they're fun to sort of find.
Yeah.
But in the case of adding him, originally it was just going to be this botched attempt on Balance's life in a nightclub. But I really liked writing him. This sort of, he's so sure of himself. But he's also a very talkative character, which is interesting because you know, at the end, when we see him much older, he's not at all. In fact, he doesn't speak basic anymore because he hates the way it sounds on his tongue. So he's going to have to be very emotionally damaged between what we're writing now and Force Awakens. And so I'm hoping we get to write him long enough that we can damage him a bit.
Yeah.
We're very cool people. We're very, very cool people.
Just two puppet masters talking about what you should do to this character.
Yeah.
At the start, Paulo was sitting here saying, okay, so I want to break up these characters, pull them apart. I want it to be super bloody. And then Ethan's sitting here. So we just damage this one character psychologically. So, I mean, I guess you're like this super weird, like messed up duo, I guess. So, yeah.
That's probably why they put us together.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
you end up complimenting each other. Yeah, so Paulo, another thing. Now, this is such a cool page. It's like kind of a dissection of Valance, his anatomy as a character. And so, did you do this at the very start just so you could get a better grasp of the character, or was this something they asked you to do specifically for this issue?
No, it was something that came up later, and it was like a very last minute thing, because we realized that issue 1 was 21 pages. It was actually, I think it was a different size, and they say, you know what, we can do that even for issue 2, but the script is just for 20 pages. We don't want to change that. Let's put like this thing with this blueprint of Valance, and because I think it something like that, it used to appear, you know, in different comics in the Star Wars universe, and I was thinking about all those amazing books where you can see these blueprints of you know, spaceships and stuff and droids, and it was actually very fun, and it was supposed to be like the way to go for Valance from that moment on, but we changed the stuff because we ripped him into pieces many times, so that changed a lot in the meantime. But it was fun because I've always liked that kind of pages in comic books. You know, when you're reading a comic book and you find, boom, this is a huge blueprint of a Fantastic Four building. This is the Avengers Mansion. This is the Batcave, and it's always useful and interesting for a reader, especially very young ones. I loved that when I was a kid. It was just nuts about that. And for Valance, it was, you know, easier because we had the whole body to show, and then I had the chance to draw the blueprint variants with all the spaceships for the bounty hunters. Even if I think we're still missing some, so far
Yeah,
6.
they're still rolling out. They're still rolling out.
Well, you know, like exclusive here, you can just reveal them. This will never get back to Lucas. So who cares about NDAs?
I think all 6 of them have been revealed. Yes, there's one. Yeah, I think all 6 of them have been revealed because I've seen all of them out. Not in print yet. Some of them are not out yet, but.
Well, now that we've stopped caring about NDAs, Ethan, who dies in issue 17 and 18 and 19 and 20? Everybody. Oh wow. Well, that's a somber way to end it. Just like at the end of this interview, we'll all die. That's how I end most of my interviews. I put a bomb in everyone's head, especially for my Suicide Squad panels. It'll all end like this all the time, just so no one else can ever get any exclusives from you. It'll only be here. So, you know,
Paulo has to survive because he's drawing issue 20 now. So.
Yeah, exactly. This video better get 10 likes, or both of these people die because of the bombs.
I mean, I'm extraneous. Like the scripts are in for me.
Yeah, okay. But Ethan gets it. Ethan gets it automatically, just so you know I'm not playing. Paulo, there's still time to save him. So let's go. Yeah. I'll click it now. So issue 20 is coming out soon. So Ethan, do you have plans to continue this series for as long as they let you, or because I think you're doing a fantastic job here?
Yeah, I mean, there's no like official end right now. We have approvals to go at least for, I mean, I don't know if I'm at liberty to say, but at least there's a story, like a longer storyline that will definitely get told. And beyond that, I hope, you know, it's beyond my control, but it's doing well enough that I'm confident that we can keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to see that as well. Yeah, but Paulo, so another question I want to ask you just regarding the Star Wars universe. Who's that one character you'd like to draw or get to work on yet that you just haven't gotten to? Just that they have such a design where you're like, should I sneak this character into one issue, even if it doesn't fit into canon? Because who's going to stop me?
Oh my God. I think I'd like to see there's this part. Okay, in Force Awakens has got so many characters in the background, and they are so interesting, each one of them. And there are the two guys that I think they are two smugglers that Finn is trying to join to leave the planet. Those two guys are really interesting. I'm not saying I would like to see them in Bounty Hunters, but maybe, just maybe, they are part, of some other people that very look similar. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know you're talking about the character with the red like points. I can see Ethan's there. Did you see little sniper dot? I assume that's Paulo from the outside. Just like, come on,
Yeah.
Ethan, put it in. Yeah, absolutely. But Ethan, if I just take a wild guess, I think I know who's that character you'd like to write for. It begins with G, and I'm thinking it's everyone's favorite Gungan Jar Jar Binks. What did you think I was going to say? What did you think I was going to say? Who thought I was going to say Greedo? Everyone watching, you're
I've already
wrong.
written Greedo. I've already written Greedo, and because he's such a mysterious character, I think it's probably enough.
We've all written Greedo in a sense, but we all haven't. You know what I'm saying? It's just so poetic. But yeah, Ethan, who's that one character from Star Wars, canon you'd like to write for?
There are certain characters that I really loved Mace Windu, and I'd love to write him more. I like Wedge a lot. Even as a kid, I liked him because he was a rare backup character that survived everything in the first trilogy. Like he was there for the destruction of both Death Stars. Possibly because he knew when to leave. It's like,
Exactly.
I'm out of here. And he brought down on Hoth, he had a major action scene. So I kind of like that. Liked him a lot for that reason. They've since made him a much bigger character with the books, with the Aftermath books, and with Clone Wars, or with Rebels. Yeah. So, but I've always liked him.
You guys just have something for the mystique with these characters, these characters basically know nothing about, but I'm sure you can just say, yeah, I'd like to work on that character. Yeah, absolutely. So Bounty Hunters, such a great series. And so Paulo, another thing I want to touch on, you've done a few covers for this series, but of course there's obviously been some other, and I know you've done a lot of covers, and what's always kind of been fascinating to me about covers is how do they work? Do you come up with a concept design and you send it into them, or would they say to you, all right, here's what we want for this cover? Or
That depends. Sometimes our editors have ideas already, and they just gonna pitch. It actually works a different way. They come to me and they say, you know what, we should do a cover like this, and they have this idea. And sometimes I stick to their idea. Sometimes I change it. And for that one with the battle in the cantina with the cantina band.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was me or Mark, our editor, who came up with the idea of having the cantina in the cantina band in the cover. On the cover, but I had also other ideas. I had this one where Tassel Leech was actually strangling Balance, and someday I'm gonna share some of them because it's I love to see those kind of discarded ideas for covers. So sometimes I give them the idea. Sometimes I get some input from them, and I work on that. But it's always really I like doing covers. It's fun. I wish I could do more and spend more time on covers because they take a long time. Even if it's just this one thing, it gets so much work just to plan what you want to draw. Really hard.
Yeah, definitely. And so, Ethan, another thing I've loved that you've been doing on this series was that you've kind of been creating some, new canon moments for some specific characters. Like we do know a bit about Bosk and how he got into contact with Jabba in that one issue. And we know all these different things. But what's your favorite thing that you've gotten to come up with or that at least make canon? And why is it Gungan grenades that you put in one issue? Because now canonically, Gungan grenades exist in the Star Wars universe. And I kind of hate you for it. But at the same time, I'm kind of so happy it exists. But yeah, Gungan grenades. And maybe other things as well, but mainly Gungan grenades.
I mean, I think the selfish answer is always when you create new characters and they're interacting with, we created Tonga and Losha as a married sort of bounty hunter couple, and that they're bossing around Bosk and Duckus. It's pretty cool. We introduce those characters, or You know, some of the like Vakara was a villain. Who's kind of grown to be a bigger character than when we started. So all these characters that are sort of, you know, quote unquote ours. I think that's special that they're living and breathing in that world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely. And Paulo, is it the same for you to see like your own characters continue and like seeing the designs you put on them and then see them continuing more issues? Is it fun for you to see your characters on the page and know that somewhere in the Star Wars universe, the character you created is just sitting around, probably lounging around? Is that fun for you, Paulo?
Yeah, I'd love to see like an action figure of something I've drawn, like something like a Black Series, Hasbro Black Series of, you know, Balance, or these incredible characters we've created, or I don't know, to see them referenced in a video game or a Star Wars. The moment that those characters are not just inside a comic book, they're really part of that universe. Even, you know, seeing some of my characters drawn into other Star Wars titles was so cool. I was like, wow, this is not something that's happening on my computer in our comic book. It's something bigger. And so I'd love to see them, you know, making appearances in our media and you know, in other stuff, video games, action figures and stuff. I'm not saying I want to see Balance in The Mandalorian, but that would be great, you know. Just saying.
Exactly, yeah, just rocking around, just doing stuff. I mean, I'm sure he's probably, maybe him and Dengar are best friends now, you know, maybe forget everything that
like
happened.
An old man Valance, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, old man Valance and old man Dengar just rocking around, pushing each other.
Yeah.
Like, no, shut up, just do, and just kind of like just two grumpy old men just walking around doing random stuff. So yeah, you know, a boy can dream, I suppose. So yeah, you know, Disney, I assume, like I said, their email must be broken because they're not getting my Greedo scripts. But yeah, besides that, you know, get it going. But yeah, absolutely. So another question I have for you guys, Ethan, and let's just take a minute now to talk about some other titles you're working on, like Intrusion, which let's take a minute from. I believe that came out just as of time of recording, just September, a couple of days ago, right?
Well, actually, it's coming out this Wednesday. There was a distribution delay, so it is actually not out yet. It will be out next week, October 6th, I believe, is the day. Yeah, so it's my first creator-owned book, and it's a fantastic artist. It's my partner, Marco Lorenzana. And it's basically a horror flip book where one side is sort of from the view of the human, and one side is from the view of the monster, and it sort of collides in the center. But it's based on some real history. I know how weird that sounds, in that it sort of follows a family of Acadian French that were sort of kicked out of Canada by the British and end up in the Bayou of Louisiana, which is, you know, sort of how there are French-speaking people in, you know, or many French-speaking people in Louisiana to this day is sort of from that background. So I was always interested in that and threw in some monsters, which is less historically accurate.
Is it though? Is it really? I mean, I'm sure there are probably monsters around that point. Yeah, so that comes out as what exact date? Probably sometime next month, October.
1766.
1666. Yeah, everyone make sure to go pick that up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as time recorded, it's probably out by now. Produced by Magma Comics, and you can also check out my interview with the editor of that comic, Denton J. Tipton, if you'd like. Link in the description of that. But yeah, of course, make sure to go check that out. And also pick up any Wastelanders Hawkeye that comes out soon enough.
That does as well. That's my first big hit in comics was Old Man Hawkeye, and so this is basically like the story I wanted to tell in an annual way back when, and it's, you know, now it's getting to be told. There's this awesome series of podcasts that Marvel is doing called Wastelanders. The first one is basically Old Man Star-Lord, and so they're also doing a Hawkeye one, and so like basically the comics are sort of coming together at the same time.
Absolutely. So everyone make sure to go check that out. And also, so Paulo, just before we finish, a couple more questions for you guys. Paulo, what is your favorite Star Wars film out of all 9? Had to choose one. What's your favorite Star Wars film?
Oh my God, this is so hard. Of all the night, okay, the obvious answer is The Empire Strikes Back, but The Last Jedi for me was really, really big. It was a great movie.
Brilliant, yeah.
Lots of people are not going to agree with that, but sorry.
No, screw it. I agree with Paulo. Last Jedi was brilliant. Come on, hit me with it. Come on, comments.
Yeah.
get this video. If I get enough comments, this will get very high on YouTube's recommendation. So hit me with it. You know, I love Last Jedi. Come on, just keep going. It's all about making it back. But Ethan, same question for you. Favorite Star Wars film?
The Empire Strikes Back. I think not only was it a fantastic film, but it's like where it landed in my childhood. You know what I mean? So it's always going to be my favorite because, you know, the first Star Wars movie and that one I saw in theaters. I was 4 when the first one came out. And I was 7 when Empire came out. So that will always be my favorite because it literally impacted my life to the point where I'm now professionally writing Star Wars instead of being like a rich business person or a doctor. So like the Empire Strikes Back changed my life. But that being said, I do love The Last Jedi. I think my favorite recent movie though is Rogue One. I love that movie so much, in part because there were these new characters that you fall in love with, but it fit within the framework of the larger movie so well. And then that last scene, which, you know, obviously is almost like a separate thing for the rest of the movie, but that climactic scene in the hallway with Darth Vader was just perfect.
Yeah, where Greedo comes out, he's like,
yeah,
psych, guess what? I've been Darth Vader this whole time. No one saw it coming. Bang, bang, finger guns, let's go. And how did you guys know the ending to my script? You guys must work at Lucasfilm. That's right.
That's the director's cut of Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hashtag get it trending, hashtag release the Greedo cut. My favorite film is, of course, Return of the Jedi. Not sure if you see their big poster at the end there, Return of the Jedi. Because, like I said, of course, the whole family loves it, or they love it now because I put it up in the sitting room. So now we can all enjoy looking at the Star Wars Return of the Jedi poster. So you're welcome, internet. And plus, there's walking teddy bears who go around stabbing people with spears. You know, what's not to love? Yeah, absolutely. So we're almost pushing an hour, so I think it's fine before we just wrap up. Before we wrap up, let's just touch on Star Wars Bounty Hunters issue 16. People can pick that up from their local comic book stores. Is that right?
It's out now. Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. Make sure to go pick it up. And you can also pick up the rest of Star Wars Bounty Hunters. There's a trade paperback. Is there coming out soon, or is there one already?
The first 2 trades go up to issue 11, and then there will be future trades, but I don't have the dates in front of me.
I think the third trade should be out in, I don't know, is this November, if it's the end of November or by Christmas, December. I'm not sure, but it's not that far away.
Yeah, that was a Christmas present for the family. If your family loves if your family loves lizards that threaten to eat people, if they also love bounty hunters, if they love weird aliens that fly around, and if they love Gungan grenades, it's the Christmas spirit. Go on, pick it up.
That's the Venn diagram of our readership right there.
Yeah, it's
and if they love to see their heart broken.
Don't even joke about that, okay? If some character I like gets it, you know, I'll have you back on, and it'll just be 2 hours of me screaming, you know.
That's why we're doing this now instead of after issue 17.
Yes, exactly.
I'll track you down. I'm like, okay, Paulo, Ethan, 2 new names on my hit list. Perfect. But yeah, so Paulo, before we finish up, are you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and even Facebook I'm not using that much, so I'm not big on Twitter and Instagram.
Perfect. So you're as that at Paulo Villanelli on Twitter? Yeah, perfect, definitely. And so Ethan, people can check you out on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.
Yes. Ethan J. Sachs. I'm not on Instagram as much as I should be, and Facebook is just sort of like a private family thing, so it's boring even if they did follow me there.
And you don't have TikTok accounts, I assume, just staying up with the kids, you know.
Just dancing, you know. All the hot hits that are, you know, whatever.
Completely unrelated to Star Wars, nothing to do. It's just you dancing. That's your TikTok account. That's all it is. Paulo, you as well. I assume you have one. Why not? Let's just. Absolutely. No, listen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Before we finish up, you can of course follow me over on Twitter at SamboGizmo1. As always, you can also donate to the National Deaf Children Society. You can check them out on Twitter at the NDCS at UK. So please make sure, if you do have the means, to donate. If not, that's completely fine. But yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. May the force be with you, and long live Greedo. Guys, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I'll talk to you a little bit off air. Everyone, make sure to go pick up Bounty Hunters from your local comic book store. But yeah, stay safe, and may the force be with you. Bye.